I'm back again with another Division video. I know it's been a while since my last one. Sorry about that, guys. Just been a little busy lately. So today I want to talk about a number of things that are pretty important. I want to do a review of one of the guns that I feel is one of the best in the game. Maybe not the best, and no, it's not the Midas. And just stuff that people, at least from what I've seen, seem to be missing in numerous videos. Because there's all these videos out there about builds and skills and whatnot, and a lot of people seem to be missing, like, well, just the fact that there is one universal super stat in this game, and that is electronics. But I'll get back to that in a moment. So first, I want to talk about this bad boy, the Caduceus. It's a high-end assault rifle, and the main attraction to this bad boy is the cool-headed perk. Now, I'm not sure if this is available on other weapons, or at least not to this degree, but this thing is insane. Performing a headshot reduces all skill cooldowns by 5.5%. Not a headshot kill, just a plain old headshot. So just to give you an example of how ridiculous this is, let's just go and see if I can find some enemies real quick. Just this real quick. So my default recast right now is roughly 48 seconds on pulse. Fairly lengthy. Just find some enemies. There we go. Okay, finally. Scan them. Get the cooldown. So I do have the perk on that's prolonging the duration, so that's kind of skewing things just a little bit. There it goes. And look, it's worn off and it's already back. It's been maybe like 10 seconds, 15 seconds at most of fighting, and the damn thing's already back. Like I said, the perk is nuts. It doesn't have the best damage, and quite honestly, the recoil is unbearable at times, and I've got this thing heavily modded for accuracy and stability as well. And for crits, because it's got that perk where 3% of the damage heals you for on crit, which is pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, that aside, like, this thing is a monster. So what you can do with this is you can use this for like a medic build, so you can get your your healing skills a lot quicker. It's really obscene with a high electronics and sticky bomb based build, because you can basically sticky bomb over and over and over, and the only risk to yourself is just popping out of cover for a couple of seconds to get a few quick headshots and get your bomb right back. This thing's nuts. Now, to my knowledge, I don't know if there's a blueprint for this yet. There might be. I know there's one for the Liberator. I have not seen the Caduceus sold by the special weapons vendor or in the Dark Zone yet. Well, maybe I just haven't looked hard enough. I was really lucky and got it off of my first daily challenge. But yeah, this is definitely like one of the best weapons in the game. Get it if you can. So the other thing I want to talk about, with that out of the way, is electronics and why it is the quote-unquote super stat of this game. Now, a lot of RPGs have so-called super stats. Usually it's something like haste or agility / evasion. Critical hits are a big one, particularly like Diablo 3 comes to mind. Crits are huge in that game. In this game, crits are also pretty important, as I mentioned in a previous video, but it's electronics that reign king too. Like, arguably over the only exception would be firearms for a heavy sniper build, because you're going to want the high base damage, and certain tanking builds, and I'll get back to that in another video, because stamina is garbage and highly overrated. But the main thing is, yes, so skill power is just in electronics. Electronics specifically, really, because it doesn't just boost your skill power. Skill power is really important, but electronics has a secondary effect of affecting your recasts. So if I go into, for instance, even including your signature abilities. Now you'll notice, see the base and the total, the values are all the same except for the cooldown. 619 seconds versus 833. That's pretty significant. Now you might be asking, why does electronics matter so much? Well, simply because it affects the effect it has on your overall performance just far outstrips everything. Like I said, with the one exception of firearms on snipers and shotguns, I suppose, just because they have such high base damage numbers to begin with, you want a high multiplier. So so let's take for example your standard critical hit SMG build where you're going to want to stack a lot of critical hit rate, critical hit damage, and etc. etc. You do still want firearms. You absolutely want a high firearms rating to multiply your base damage. But you want a very high electronic skill as well because of what it does to pulse. Let's just take a look at the base stats here. So 60-60, 25 duration's the same. Look at the critical hit chance difference though because of my electronics. It goes from 16 to 27. And the damage goes from 32 to 68.3. And like I said, the reduced cooldown as well. That makes a dramatic difference. Sheet DPS, like mine's fairly low here because my gear is not totally optimized yet. I don't have all the weapons I want for this particular build. But you can't just go by what it says or what your flat DPS is. You have to take into account what, your buffs. For example, okay, so if I scan a bunch of enemies and then I further stack that with the smart cover, cranking my base damage up even more, my actual DPS is probably go up in the neighborhood of like 140, 150k for the duration of the buffs. And because of my Caduceus, I can actually maintain those buffs pretty much full time. So getting back to the tanking and why this matters a hell of a lot even for tanks as well. I see a lot of emphasis in video people talking about, oh, you can get like 120, 150,000 hit points, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's all well and good, and actually that is important in PvP. It is worth noting. I'm just gonna kill these guys real quick. Your max hit points do matter quite a bit in PvP, not so much in PvE, because the enemies deal so much goddamn damage. At best, you're taking 1-2 extra hits. You're far better off with a high electronic stat and stacking on damage mitigation. This has been it's been a common thing. I mean, I've played a lot of MMOs and various RPGs, and damage mitigation tends to win out over hit points. Hit points do matter, don't get me wrong. Again, especially in PvP, because you can't really stack stuff to reduce your damage too much against other players, but you can against the AI. For example, there's on armor, I don't know if I have any on me, let me just, yeah, there we go, right there. See, protection from elites. That is huge. That effectively just straight up adds, it's pretty much like having a secondary armor stat, which is also vital because, let's go here to survivability. Okay, so my armor is almost 3k. I'm currently taking 41.24 less weapon damage. Pretty big. That's a huge chunk of damage being reduced. On top of 15% The sad thing is, even with all this, I still do take quite a bit of a whooping from enemies on challenge mode, but I'm not really spec'd fully for tanking either. If I was, I'd be putting a lot more emphasis on stacking my armor as high and protection as high as possible, along with hit points. In general, for my recommendation for a tanking build would be to gear for go focus on having a high armor and electronic stat on all your gear, and use your mod slots to boost stamina. Because again, just to illustrate the point, let's take a look at the ballistic shield, one of the premier tanking skills. So right here, Base health 40k. In total, though, it can sponge 170,000 damage almost, and then with the durability mod on, 253,000 damage. It's I don't have nearly that much health. And with the master with the master talent unlocked, the shield actually regenerates health. Anyway, so that's gonna wrap it up for now. Sorry that's not a little more in depth. I'll be trying to put in some more content for this soon. Like I said, I've just been a little preoccupied with life lately, and so I hope this helped you guys out. Have fun, stay safe in your boat.